Hi, thanks so much for having me. Yeah, I'm Tom, I work in London, and this is a last-minute addition to the programme, so I'll try and keep just to 5 minutes, but it follows on, as you'll see very nicely from Dr. Kennedy's presentation. And this is looking at data in multi-site. We've talked about the background of anaesthetic gases, and we know what needs to be done in terms of avoiding the most harmful gases, in particular desflurane, nitrous oxide, and practicing low-flow anaesthesia. But there is a lack of data outside of pharmacy procurement, like large-scale granular case-level data to support widespread change. So this is a project looking at data from the multi-centre proactive outcome group, 60 hospitals across the US and centres in Europe, trying to look for some of those generalisable patterns. The data we've pulled includes about 2 million cases of minute-by-minute intraprocedural flow data, as well as the case-level kind of characteristics. And we've paired it with an institutional survey asking hospitals about the sustainability measures that they have implemented. So it's kind of simple on one level. It's complex because we've got something like 200 million data rows, so every time we try and ask a question, it takes a week to kind of run on the servers. The other thing that seems simple is to calculate anaesthetic gas. You multiply fresh gas flow with the set vaporizer dial concentration, but that vaporizer dial concentration is not available in the majority of the health records. So there's a formula here developed by Jan Hendricks and colleagues, which estimates the vaporizer set dial concentration using end-tidal fraction and the rebreathing fraction and a kind of empirically determined dead space fraction. And we've been able to use our data set as well to validate that correlating closely with the measured consumption that we have for a minority of cases. So to give you an overview of the results, we're seeing of the 2 million cases we have, vast majority of the cases using gas is sevoflurane, corresponding to a global warming potential of median of 7.6 kilos CO2, compared to, as you'd expect, the desflurane cases having a median global warming potential of over 200. And we can just look at some overall national trends. So this is essentially saying that the types of gas used are clustered by region, and that really means that they're clustered by institution. So areas using higher proportions of desflurane, lower proportions of desflurane, etc. And we'll give more details on all of that in our later kind of publications. There's trend over time, which is to say that the proportion of desflurane, the shaded areas are co-administration of nitrous oxide. The proportion of desflurane cases are reducing over time in the institutions that we're looking at. The proportions of sevoflurane are increasing over time, and that's correlating with a reduction in global warming potential per hour of anaesthesia. The TIVA data is still to be added here. Fresh gas flow, so this is embarrassing compared to the data presented there from New Zealand, but the Americans have historically kept their flows above 2 litres due to historic licensing concerns, although that's now been updated with some practice statements. I think what's interesting is that institutions kind of internally have a lot of consistency. These lines kind of stay steady within individual hospitals, and also this sign, you can't really see on this slide, that some institutions that have changes happening in their practice. So our next job is to try and determine why those things are happening. And that's where our institution level survey comes in. So we've asked questions about different measures that might be taken to improve patterns of sustainable behaviour, such as providing monthly feedback to providers, real-time feedback to providers, payment incentives, appointment of a sustainability lead, as well as the kind of system changes such as decommissioning nitrous oxide or removing desflurane vaporizers. And we're working on a causal inference analysis to see the impact of those interventions on the sustainability metrics that we have. To summarise, we've got a really big data set and there's lots of questions that can be answered with it. It's all really inspired by the work that you've heard from the speakers here today. There's some positive signs about global warming potential being reduced over time. Predominantly that's reduction in desflurane use, but clearly much work to be done on this journey. So that's exactly 5 minutes from me. There's a reference to the model if anyone wants to look at that work, which was great. And thank you to the MPOC collaborators.